Where going back to that UCLA game, what was crazy about it was you were just waiting for Gonzaga to make their run. Because like
Right.
teams, even in the WCC, on like those nights where Gonzaga isn't playing as hard just because they don't have to against the
Right.
Pepperdines and the Pacifics of the world. That's kind
Hmm.
of what I thought was happening in the UCLA game. Just like, hey, UCLA is playing really good. They're playing inspired. And Gonzaga, we were talking, Kendall and I were talking about it during the game. It's like Gonzaga hasn't made their run yet. They haven't made their
Right.
run yet, and it turned into a historically good game. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, where does that rank among the best tournament games you've seen? Just period.
Period. Yeah. I mean, you look at the storylines too that are coming to that. You have a team like UCLA, one of the only teams as an 11 seed ever make the NCAA or the Final Four. You have a UCLA team who was projected to finish. What was I don't know if it was last. It was definitely may have been last in the Pac-12, if not last, definitely bottom third. You have a UCLA team with Mick Cronin, who is a coach that usually had problems in March, and a UCLA team who historically has been amazing in the tournament. And so you had those UCLA storylines just as an individual team. You obviously had GU vying to be the first undefeated team, national championship winners since '76. Probably arguably one of the most efficient offenses of all time, with the highest 2 point percentage in history in a very 3 point centric era. You have a bona fide lottery pick, arguably maybe the top overall pick in Jalen Suggs, a Bulldogs team that is still going for its first national championship. I mean, the outside storylines coming into that game already made it a very intriguing matchup. Outside of the fact that it's a 11 versus a 1 in a Final Four game, which you just don't see all that often. So, yeah, when that game was going on, I mentioned this earlier, it was very frustrating as a GU fan
Yeah.
because it just felt like that run was coming.
Yeah.
And it also was just very unfortunate to watch UCLA do what they were doing, and that was making shots. Juzang, it doesn't count, but watching guys who usually wouldn't be knocking down all of these shots just taking advantage of it. And it was shocking, and it was, again, annoying, and you're just sitting there as a GU fan like, oh God, here it comes. I mean, losing to Baylor in the national championship is one thing. Losing to 11th seeded UCLA team, who lost its final 4 games going to the NCAA tournament, who had a pretty poor year overall and was far and away probably the worst team left in the tournament, even in the Sweet 16. And so it was about to be an upset that the entire country and world really would never let GU live down. And so as the game was going on, it was building toward that. It was building. You could just feel it. You could feel that upset coming. You could feel that just
Mhm.
opportunity after opportunity for UCLA to just rip GU fans' hearts out. And it almost came multiple times. There was right before Timmy took that charge. I'm thinking like,
Oh man.
I'm like, here
Oh.
we go. Like I'm gonna go disappear. Like if this
Yeah.
goes in, nobody's
Yep.
ever gonna see or hear of me again.
Yep.
And so like that play was absolutely insane, and it was the 100% right call. I mean, it was the one of the more perfect charges you can ever see taken. I mean, it was clear as day. And so that play happened, and that made it wild. And before that, you had Suggs' block and his pass, which was absolutely insane. You had Corey Kispert throwing down a two-handed slam for Corey Kispert's athletic, but that happened, and you're like, didn't know he could quite do that. And just this back and forth and back and forth. Nobody up by more than 4 points, I think, in the last probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe even. And so all of that just culminated to this ridiculous overtime where GU went up by 6 on 3 straight Timmy baskets, 2 of them with his weaker left hand. And then at that point, you're like, all right, GU, here they go. Like they're taking advantage of the fact that UCLA had a couple turnovers. Johnny Juzang hasn't really touched the ball. And then you get to the fact that they're still up by 5. And then all of a sudden, they're up by 2. And then you're like, okay, we're still up. We're still up. That's fine. And then they make their lay-in, and then it's Juzang of all people, misses his floater. It's short. He grabs his own rebound because Kispert's not paying attention for whatever reason. Juzang lays it up, and then it's 3.3 seconds, and I'm sitting there and I'm still trying to process. Like they just tied the game up. Like are you serious right now? And so I kind of like sat back, like, come on, guys, like, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden you see Suggs streaking, and you're like, there's your brain's processing this faster than you could ever talk and ever be able to explain what's going on. And then all of a sudden, Jalen's shooting. Like, I mean, he's in a good shooting position. I mean, it was a little bit of a runner, but you could still see him square up his body before that shot came out of his hands, and that ball's in the air, and you're like, all right, that shot looks pretty good. And then it banks, and for about 0.6 of a second, you just have no idea what's going on. Like, you're like, and then right when you were starting to question what happens, you're like, he just knocked down a buzzer-beating shot in overtime to win the game. Like, this is one of the most incredible shots of all time, far and away, probably the one of the best shots of the Final Four and prior. Obviously a buzzer-beater national championship game winner just has to be better based off of the stakes. But that was one of the most incredible shots of all time, and that just put a nice fat bow on top of a massively entertaining yet albeit frustrating game for a Zag fan, but a very exciting game.
For sure. Yep.
My house got pretty loud once that shot went in.
Yep. I didn't know what to do with myself when it went in.
Yeah. No, the way you described it, of like when it first went in, and it reacted the same way. Like, I almost didn't process then it went in.
Right.
And then suddenly he's on the scores table, and I'm like, wait, what?
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, he took him like a split second to react. It went in, and like he kind of like turned, and then he turned again, and then started celebrating, because like it's just, I mean, it was just, it was bonkers. It was the best way to go into a national championship game, and GU fans were on cloud nine and were so confident, and everything was going really well, and then Baylor happened. So, I mean, it is what it is, but I'm glad they're at least able to get there, because it was championship or bust. Let's not forget that. Like, this season was supposed to finish with a national championship, but second place is literally, obviously, and logistically the best you can do without actually winning it. So, I mean, it happens.